Welcome to TriTech University. My name is Bill Steppen, and today we're going to start off the month of April with a little bit of a kind of a different kick. We're going to do what I'm going to call a session all about what I would consider to be my best practices in regards to navigating around the program and increasing your efficiency with the system. So that's going to be the focus of today's session, and then we're going to do a second session later on this month all about asking me anything that you'd like to ask. So as always, over to the right you'll see a chat tab. Feel free to go ahead and click on that tab, and then down at the bottom there will be a nickname button where you can type in your name, and that way you can ask me questions, you can say hi, you can chat amongst yourselves, anything that you'd like to do as far as today, any questions that you have on today's content. And then we'll just roll right along into the session here. So hey Devin, how you doing? Good to see you again. And yeah, so let's go ahead and switch over to my screen. So I've got just kind of a list of some things here that I think are going to be helpful to hopefully the majority of you here in the software. So let's jump into my number one tip. If you were to leave 5 minutes from now, you'll at least have this tip, which is F6 is your friend. So no matter where you are in AIM, chances are F6 is going to be a benefit to you in some way, shape, or form. It primarily acts as a search function. So let's say, for example, you're in a sales invoice, and let's just jump into a basic point of sale here. And down here at the bottom, let's say that you didn't have a barcode scanner, and you needed to look something up not by its item number but by its description, or anything really. If you press F6 while you're in this field, because it's an inventory-centric field, it will bring up an inventory search function here. From there you could type in whatever you're looking for and then hit your search function. If you have something pre-typed in, for example, let's say oil, and then press F6, you can see it actually preempts that. It's now doing a search for anything that has the word oil in it. In this case, it comes back with two results, one for valve oil and one for fingerboard oil. Hey Rich, how you doing? Good to see you. So that's one instance of F6. Let's say you are in our scheduling module, and you were kind of the same idea. I don't have much in the way set up here at all, really. I guess I don't have anything set up. But there would be a function in there where you need to make a selection of a customer account. Here's another example. I don't think I have this set up in my particular system, but let's talk about the firearm book, the A&D book records. Let's say you were in one of these fields up here where it's asking for an acquisition account or an acquisition vendor, or think disposition account or vendor. You didn't know the customer account or the vendor account. What are you going to do? Well, you can press F6, and it popped up on my other monitor here, but we can see if this will come down. There we go. So I'm in the disposition account field. It's going to let me do a search by customer name now in this instance. So pressing F6 on any account field will do a search like that. Same concept in any vendor field. If I press F6 there, this will bring up a vendor search. So you can think of F6 basically as a way to do a quick shortcut to multiple different types of searches. Now, those of you who might be coming from version 11 and older are probably already familiar with that idea, but in version 12 we've expanded on that. So now you can use F6 in any drop-down selection as well. So for example, staying on this same screen, I'm in the acquisition type drop down here. Let's say this is a much longer list and it was hard for me to kind of filter through it. As long as I'm selected on that field, whether it's open or not, if I press F6, then what that will do, is that will, okay, that's a bad example. I know another place where this will definitely be helpful though. Let's say you are in your ledger setup for non-inventory categories. And I'm not sure why it wasn't working in that other screen. It didn't seem like it was working. But let's say, for example, you were setting up a new non-inventory category, and you wanted to know what ledger number you wanted to affiliate this with. So in the ledger dropdown, you can see this is a much, much longer list. Let's say you wanted to be able to find any and all instances of a certain search topic. You can press F6, and this will pop up a little window here where you can now type in whatever it is that you want to look up. So let's say we're starting to look for, I don't know, something to do with just miscellaneous anything. So you can see as I start typing, that will filter down and shrink down to anything that in this case has the text of MIS. If I had kept on typing, I would have gotten down directly to just the miscellaneous income there. And then I could make a selection from there, and that'll bring it right into that. So yeah, F6, it's got a lot of functionality and capability to it. Now, in other areas, it can do some other things as well for you. Say, for example, you are receiving some inventory. So if we go into receive inventory, and of course this again once again popped up on a different monitor, so let's bring it down here. And let's say we are receiving something, so let's quote-unquote scan in our item, and we're receiving 40 of them. And let's say the price has gone up. Our cost has gone from $2 to $2.50, and we want to base our price off of a certain margin. So we can come over here, and in the $3.95 hour price field, I know that's really small on my monitor. I forgot to resize that, so I apologize. But we can press F6 there. And again, the idea here is F6 can bring up some functionality based on the field that we're in. So in this case, it can recalculate our hour price based on either a desired margin, or if the retail price had been adjusted, we could base it on a percentage of retail. Let's say I'm shooting for a 40% margin. So we don't actually need the point there. We could just put in 40 and hit enter. And we can see it recalculates my hour price, in this case, to $4.17. And maybe at that point, I'll just go ahead and round it to $4.25 or whatever I want to do there. Basically, the rounding function or the calculation will get you to the exact number, and then from there you may want to adjust it if necessary. So that works in any of these price fields. If I wanted to readjust the price A or the price B or anything like that, you can definitely do that. Now that does lead me to another kind of efficiency thing, and that's going to be the setup of auto price functions. So when we're talking about auto pricing, that is the ability for you to go into the inventory and maintain auto price default options, where you could go in and you could essentially set up any number of formulas based off of category and subcategory and vendor and calculation type. So if you take some time to set up, let's say we want to set up an accessory formula. I'm just giving it a random name here. We could then go in here. We could make multiple selections of specific categories. Let's start with band accessories, and we'll leave the subcategory blank so that it defaults to all of those. We'll do the same thing for vendor. We don't have to make a vendor selection there. Let's say we want that to be that margin percentage of cost. You can see there are multiple options there. Once again, you can press F6 if you wanted to see just a list of all of them. So pressing F6, again, a nice easy way to see them all on those drop-down methods. And then from here, we could come in over here and say that we want price C to be, let's say, a 20% margin, price B to be 25, price A to be 30. We want minimum price to be, let's say, 15, and then the hour price will target that 40% margin. So we set that up, and then basically back in that add change or receive, any place where you have the auto price available to you. Let's go ahead and do that same thing. We can now hit the auto price, and you can see, well, you'll just have to take my word for it. I know that's really small on the screen, but it did go ahead and recalculate all of these price fields to those unique specific numbers. So I use that formula to just do that calculation for me. That auto price function is available when you're receiving inventory. It is also available if you were going in and doing a change of, not the change of inventory price, not that one, the change SKU details, if I remember correctly. I think that also has the auto price button available. It doesn't, thought it did, but it definitely is available when you are receiving a purchase order. So if you are using the purchase order module, and you're going in and receiving a PO, and again, I probably don't have a PO set up here, but on the second tab, the items on purchase order, after you make a selection there, if you are needing to make an adjustment as you're receiving it, the item detail tab from the second tab will definitely have an auto price function available there. So yeah, that was another bullet point that I wanted to mention here. One final thing regarding F6, and I kind of glossed over it before, but when we're talking about F6 specifically on vendor fields, and let's say you're adding a new, not customer, but a new inventory item from scratch. And it's the first time that you are putting something in for a specific vendor. When you get over to the primary vendor dropdown here, if you get to this point and you discover, Fender is not on here, or whoever the vendor might be, again, press F6. Not only will this bring up the select vendor window where you could then do some additional searches if necessary, but you can click the add button, and that lets you add a vendor on the fly. So there are a few F6 functions where something like that is available to you, where you can make adjustments as you go. So let's get off of the F6 hype train for a bit, and let's talk about some other things that are much more customizable now in version 12 than in prior versions. And probably the most obvious one is going to be the touchscreen environment. So in addition to the drop-down menus, like most of you that are attending here today probably have known, you have access to all of the different functions from the drop-down menus by default, and the on-screen, or what we'll call the touchscreen buttons, initially mimic those same setups, those same structures. So modules into is the same function here as what I just saw there: daily posting inventory customers, daily posting inventory customers, and so forth. Now, typically the main idea behind these touchscreen menus is that you can go and customize them by using the touchscreen menu and the point of sale menu editors. And then the menu editors themselves, I go into much more detail on the menu customization in a different live stream or a different webinar that I've recorded in the past. My advice would be, everyone has a main menu, and the main menu is something that can be kind of customized, well, not customized, but can be adjusted on a workstation by workstation basis. It can also be something where the toolbar, which is these 4 buttons over here, and you can put as many buttons as you want. You can right click and copy and paste multiple buttons and whatnot. You can make adjustments to these individual menus. Bring my mouse back for me, thank you. Now, as far as making adjustments from an efficiency standpoint, I'm going to show you something. I think I talk about this in those other webinars as well. But if we take a look at the workstation settings, it's important to know that, bring this down here, every computer, if we take a look here on this first tab, this details tab, there's what's called a home menu. And that home menu is basically something that you can change from one workstation to another. So depending on which one you select here, that will be the main layout, when you click this home button or when you first come into it, whatever you designate to be the main menu or the home menu will be the initial layout of buttons. So I definitely encourage you to think about maybe having that set up on a per workstation basis. Something that is definitely unique to the individual computers is the toolbar. So if there are certain computers that should always have certain buttons that just take you right to certain functions, definitely think about that, having a special toolbar. They don't have to be limited to these kind of small squarish buttons. You could certainly customize these to be full scale buttons that have the actual names of functions on them if that would be so desirable. While we're talking about the editing of menus, let's take a look back in the menu editor. So where am I at? I'm in the wrong menu. Let's go to the touchscreen menu editor. Notice how these buttons, I know it's really hard to see, but see how the F in file is underlined and the M in modules is underlined. Those of you who are really dependent on your keyboards for keyboard shortcuts, you don't have to worry about losing those if you want to go with a touchscreen menu setup. If I right click and take a look at the function of a button here, do you see how in the caption it has a little ampersand in front of the M? You can put that ampersand in front of any letter that you want to be a keyboard shortcut. So in this case, it's right in front of the M. So you'll notice if we take a look at that, the M is underlined here. Let's say I wanted the L in modules to be the keyboard shortcut. All I have to do is, on the caption, move that ampersand from in front of the M to in front of the L. You'll notice when I do that and hit OK, now the L is underlined up here. So just to kind of bring that point home, if I come back now and refresh this menu, so now you'll see the L is there. If I were to press Alt-L on my keyboard, that goes into the modules menu. So basically, Alt plus whatever hyperkey or hotkey you set up on any given menu can be a way to customize your keyboard shortcuts. You want to make sure that you kind of keep that consistent. And of course, you'll want to make sure that you don't have the same letter set up for multiple buttons on any given menu. But something to think about, especially for those of you who maybe are a little bit more old school like myself and have been using keyboard shortcuts forever and a day. I can think of several customers in our history that rattle menu options off by their keyboard shortcuts as opposed to drop-down menus or menu paths or things like that. Devin is asking, how do I get an ampersand in the button label without turning the following letter a keyboard shortcut? So you actually want an ampersand in the description. That is a good question there, Devin. I haven't ever actually investigated that. Let's do a test run here. I'm wondering if you put it in quotes, maybe the whole thing here. I don't know. I've never actually tried that. Nope, that's not working. So that's a good question there, Devin. I do not know an answer for you off the top of my head. I'll have to look into that, and if I can think of anything or if I find out anything, I will edit this recording with a little blurb about that, and I'll also reach out to you via email. So that was the whole concept of the keyboard shortcuts. Oh, and one other thing regarding the setting up of menus. Not only can you make adjustments at the workstation level of which is the home menu and which is the toolbar from one workstation to another, but you can also set it up so that your employees, when you're setting up your employees in the admin menu, if they have specific menus that should follow them no matter what workstation they're logged in at, you can definitely do that as well. So you'll notice here in the employee setup, if we take a look at this fifth tab, the menus tab, you can see how it says these settings will override the menu settings from the workstation record whenever this employee is logged in. So when you're logged in as, in this case, Test X salesperson, whatever you select here in this home menu drop-down will then be the overriding home menu. It'll override this setting here at the workstation level. Notice how there is no toolbar in these settings, so no matter what, the toolbar will stay the same from one workstation to another, but you can have different home menus, you can have different point of sale home menus. So there's the POS menu, which is by default normally established per workstation on the POS tab here on the home menu. There's also the payment menu and return menus that can be customized both at the workstation level as well as by the individual employee. So kind of keep that in mind. A few other bullet points that I like to talk about from an efficiency standpoint, and these are, this next little bit is user dependent. So one user may be able to set these up unique to their preferences versus another user, another employee. But that's all about the grids. And when I talk about grids, I'm talking about details like, for example, all of these things here. See how if I were to look for, let's say, Dubuque. No, that's not coming up with it. So let's. Can't think of anyone who. Actually, if I just do 563, that should come up with multiple people here. So, grids. So anytime you've got a display of information like this, and this carries forth. Let's go ahead and select John Quincy customer here, and bring this down. So this is another grid. You can see how this has information here in the form of outstanding activity. If there were any outstanding activity on this customer, they'd be displayed here. All of these grids, or most of these grids, can be adjusted from one customer or one user to another. So maybe, for example, this particular, I'm logged in right now as Professor Tritech. Maybe I really would like the reference to be first. I could move that to the left of the date. I can basically customize my layout of these details, and I can click on and sort by any of these columns. See how there's a little arrow now above the description. Now it's pointing down. So if there were anything on this grid, that would be sorting by description. Where this is really going to come in handy, though, is grids like these. For example, this invoice history. Let's say, for example, a customer needed a reprint of a receipt. They don't remember exactly when they purchased it or what they purchased, but they remember because it was on their credit card statement that they made a purchase of $7.49, and they just wanted to see what it was that they had made that purchase of. We can come here to this original amount column, click right below here where it says equals, and type in $7.49, and that will filter down to exactly, in this case, what would be in that column. And that is universal across all of these columns. Any place where you see where it says contains or equals or anything like that, you can click in and start typing in whatever verbiage you want to type in there to do a filter. Do you want to change the filter? No problem. You can click the little filter button, and in this case we could change the type of filter from in the type column from contains to does not contain or starts with or is empty or any of these other filters here. So definitely think about that as an option. You could also right click and group on a column. So in this case, now we're grouping by that type column, and you can see there's now two listings here, one for charge sales and one for layaways. I could then click on those individual drop downs and look at those particular details. And if I need to, I can just make these a little bit adjusted here too to give me more room on my display here. So definitely think about that. Keep the whole idea of the grid customization in mind. One last thing, and this will definitely be dependent from one grid to another, but in some cases you can also adjust which columns themselves appear. You can right click and choose the column chooser, and in this case We're seeing invoice date, PO, original amount, balance, bill account, master, and location, but maybe we also want to know who the sold account is in relation to the bill account. We can drag that over here and kind of put that right next to each other. In this case now it's kind of squished over there, but let's bring it back over here. Come on over. Maybe we don't want the bill account. Maybe we just want the sold account. We can take that one off. This is really giving me grief here. There we go. Let me drag that one off. Basically, you can customize the grids to your needs. So just kind of keep that in mind. In some cases, there might be other choices than others. If there is something that you think would be really beneficial to you as far as choices for certain grids, definitely give our support team a call. We're more than happy to investigate adding certain options to that column chooser so that you can take advantage of that. That will actually allow me to segue into my final couple of bullet points here for today's topics, and that's all about reports. So staying on that topic with grids and column choosers, let's say that when you're running your sold inventory by category or any other report, and I'll just do a massive range here just so I can get something here. There we go, one record selected. I know I do a whole heck of a lot in my system. But let's go ahead and print this to the screen. And let's say, of course it popped up on a different monitor altogether. Let's bring it on over. Let's say that we wanted to see the details based on that actually culminate this report. We can click up here to view in grid. Let's bring this down. So same idea here. Now we're seeing the details that make up that report, and we can do the same thing. We've got access to those contains boxes. We can change the filters on any given column we so desire. So you have the ability, and in this case you can see there's a lot more detail here at the grid level than we can fit on the report itself. So keep that in mind as the ability to kind of look at more detail as a kind of a power user thing here when we're talking about the reports. And then my final bullet point regarding reports to kind of wrap up today's session is take advantage of the ability to set up what we call report preferences for each of your reports. This is something unique to version 12. Let's say that you always like running certain reports for certain date ranges or have certain filters already in place. I'm just going to make some selections here to kind of make some adjustments. And then when you right click on any gray space, you'll have the opportunity to save what's called a report preference. By saving that report preference, you can give it a name. Let's just call this refrigerator sales. And you can then set up which employees have access to that report preference. You can also, in any place where there's a report that has a date range in place, you can make pre-selections here. Let's say we want this to be the beginning of the current week through the end of the current, well, let's do the month. So we'll do end of the current month from the beginning of the current month. So if I go ahead and hit OK on that, you can kind of see it's now showing 4/1 through 4/30, and that has saved that preference. Let's actually do one more thing, and that is you have the ability anytime you're setting up a report preference to make it be a default. If you checkmark default, then anytime you go back to that report, where was that? Sold inventory by category. Because I checkmarked that as default, see how it's actually now showing me all of those settings that I had previously set up, and now I don't have to keep going back and either reselecting them or right-clicking and saying, well, let's go ahead and load those preferences. They're already loaded for me. If you need to make an adjustment here, you certainly can. And if you need to update those preferences, by all means, you certainly can. You can also clone or delete those user preferences if you so desire. Or not user preferences, report preferences. So yeah, hopefully that will be helpful. The big thing, I think, though, is the F6 key to get you out of jams where you don't remember exactly what it is that you need to use to to fill in a given field. The touchscreen and point of sale menus, by all means, definitely take some time to, come on, focus. There we go. To customize those on a workstation and per user basis, because having all of those functions that you do within a few mouse clicks can be a huge time saver, as far as just knowing that, okay, I normally do these at the beginning of the day, at the middle of the day, or when the delivery guy comes in, I need these particular reports or these particular functions. And then at the end of the day, being able to go in and just do things one after another with just mouse clicks of buttons right on the menu, as opposed to having to navigate through to get to a certain report or to a certain function like a daily deposit or things like that. So yeah, hopefully that will be helpful. If I did not get around to, I didn't see any other questions come in, but hopefully I was able to answer some other one-off questions that I had seen people ask kind of throughout the previous months of potential live stream topics, which I felt, like, for example, the whole customizing of grids. I really didn't think that could be done on for an entire live stream, so I decided to condense it into kind of a tips and tricks live stream. So if I did not get an opportunity to, or I did not mention a topic of yours that you'd like to see me do, or that anything like that, definitely check out 2 Tuesdays from now. That will be April 19th. Actually, if you click over to the right here to switch back from chat to the playlist, that should have the mention there of the other live stream topic for this month, which again is going to be the Ask Me Anything. I think that will be exciting. I've never done one of those before. Hopefully we'll get a lot of good questions answered there. And as far as any future topics, I haven't reset it yet, but up on the top, the polls option, you can go to that web page and make suggestions there for future live stream topics and suggestions. That's where the majority, if not the entirety, of these topics come from, as far as I'm concerned, because I want to make sure that these sessions are worth everyone's time. So thank you once again for your attention and your attending of today's topic. If you need to get in touch with us at any point, feel free to give us a call onto our support lines, or you can always drop me an email at training@tritechretail.com. And otherwise, we will see you in 2 weeks, and I hope you can all make it a good one until then. Take care.